What's up, everyone, and welcome to Let's Have Cocktails. Okay, so hi, everyone, and we're here. Y'all have to pardon me. I know I'm not tired. It's this Roxapine.
I know. I'm like, oh my goodness.
But okay, so starting off, we're going to. I want to give everyone a chance to introduce themselves because I noticed we have stopped doing that. So just to get you all familiar with us, I am Anique.
I'm Nikki.
I'm Ashley.
And I'm Roxy.
And speaking of Roxy, we're gonna get into the Roxapine.
I think I started a little too early. Oh goodness, because I'm feeling something.
All right, this drink is good though. It's definitely good.
Today I named this one the Peach Delight. Start out with a few peach rings, drop them in a nice size glass. We are using a mini size fish bowl. Fill that with ice. Drop in 2 shots of peach crown, 2 shots of peach nectar, and top it with Southern Peach Calypso. When I tell y'all this drink is so good, and I am so tipsy, and I'm gonna try to stay alert, but it is on the sweeter side. So if you guys don't like some of the ones that we normally post that are really strong, this is gonna be for you.
Okay, well, thank you, Roxy. Really, and I'll drink to that real quick.
I don't think
Toasting
we need
the
to.
fish bowls.
I don't think we need to drink to it.
Okay, so hopefully we get through this because this topic today, it's a little serious. And, well, it's a lot of serious when it comes to your personal self. So today we're discussing self-sabotaging. And that's, in all areas of our lives, whether it be career, personal, like intimate relationships, friendships, family relationships, and just your own self, like goals or aspirations and things. Right. So, what are some ways, that you all feel that you have self-sabotaged some things in your life?
Procrastination. I am really bad about that, but I shine when it's time. But it's not good. I wait and wait and wait, and then I'm rushed to get something done. And so I think that's my number one area of self-sabotaging.
So if you say it's procrastination, but you shine, how is it self-sabotaging to you then?
Well, because I had plenty of time to do it in, a timely manner and get certain things, small things done here and here and here, instead of putting so much pressure on myself to get everything done within a very small window.
So you're saying that it's like self-sabotaging, like your mental, because it puts
because it's going to put a whole lot of stress. Everybody around me is going to feel that stress because now I got to get this done, and I can't, I can't procrastinate. Jesus, procrastinate any longer. So that's tough.
Okay. What about you, Ashley or Nikki?
For me is I tend to psych my own self out. So like when it comes to like doing things I'm unfamiliar with or just talking to people I don't know, I tend to, or just wanting to do something, I tend to be like, oh no, it's not gonna work. So I tend to predict the outcome before even just trying it. So that's probably my biggest self-sabotage.
I feel like with me, it's mostly downplaying my abilities. Like that's mostly in like looking for a new career or some of that nature. When you're filling out job applications, like even to move here, like you look at stuff and you be like, oh, I don't have those qualifications, but put in for it anyway.
Yeah.
Because you know more than you think you know. Then you get in and you're like, oh man, I could have, did this and did that. Because it's you know, you look at it like, I'm not really sure. But, you know, that's my self-sabotaging.
What do you feel like you do?
The biggest thing for me is probably fear. Underestimating my talents or, you know, my God-given gifts. A lot of times I'm always thinking, well, what if it goes wrong? Or what if I don't do as good? Or I'm probably not as good as this person, so I'm just going to go ahead and not enter this. You know what I'm saying? So I would say fear, and with a combination of negative thoughts, I will overthink the hell out of something.
I definitely overthink.
I am that person that by the time something, like if I'm supposed to do something, I didn't sit there and thought out everything to the end. It's to the point now my anxiety is kicked in and I literally just don't want to go.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, I am horrible at that.
Yeah. I definitely do that same thing. Overthink, and then I'm just like, nah, I just ain't gonna do it.
Yeah.
I do that too.
I used to do that. This may sound crazy. When I was in the military, you know, we had to take PT tests, right? And so if I know I ain't been working out, I ain't been running like I supposed to, I legit used to self-sabotage myself to the point where I would be nauseous. I would be sick to my stomach up until the time that it's time to take that test. And it's like, I'm making myself worse. So now I have all these internal physical feelings because of me mentally just psyching myself out of it.
Oh, I do that with tests. Like, I am a horrible test taker. Like, I can know the material, but because, like you say, you physically make yourself sick, and so you get to the test and your mind goes blank.
Yes.
You like, I have studied, I knew this shit, like.
And then how they word stuff too, though. They be trying to get you.
Yeah.
But yeah, you do psych yourself out with that kind of stuff. You gotta just like breathe, get yourself back calm, and then take it. But you know.
So yeah. Can y'all think of like any specific like moments, like you spoke on, like for your PT test? Can y'all think of like a specific moment in your life where you self-sabotage the situation?
Ooh. With me, talking to people, let me tell you, I can be out in public and I can see a girl eyeing me, right? So it's obvious that she's attracted to me. I could be eyeing her. We could be there the whole time. And I would self-sabotage the situation and like, because I am like very shy when it comes to people that I don't know. And I just won't initiate the situation, nothing. I would mentally psych myself out of it.
Oh, I do that all the time. That's why I just end up with crushes. Let me tell you, some of y'all out there that probably follow us, I probably done crushed on you and been like, and I done self-sabotage that and been like,
she's still waiting on you.
But you know what? That's really I know it's probably abnormal for me being a more, like, I'm not that feminine film person. But I feel like for films, y'all probably definitely self-sabotage a lot of opportunities because y'all aren't the most people to
Well,
approach.
that I was the thing. That was the key for people to come over. You know, so we feel like we doing our part. Like, we still looking at you. Come over.
I think for me, I always turn it into, I take the safe route and turn it into friends. Like I become
many of
that
those.
whole,
I don't need no more.
No, I'm saying like I just become like that. Well, associate.
I don't got too many.
Because that's another topic for another day, friends. But but I'm saying like I'll become that cool homegirl. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, it goes back for me to overthinking.
Yeah.
Because I'll get to being around the person and getting to know them. Like if I pay attention to who the type that they have or the people that I see them with or, you know, and then I'm just like, yeah, they probably not interested. And plus they ain't said nothing. So, you know, that's my nigga.
be dating her. We just not gonna be shit. I don't need no more friends.
What about work?
Oh.
Have you ever self-sabotage anything at work or an interview, coming up, like preparing for that interview or project or anything?
I self-sabotaged a job interview before.
Did you subconsciously or consciously?
A little bit of both.
I think it's a little bit of both because it was when I was moving to Dallas, and the company that I came here for, they flew me out.
You got flued out?
Yeah. Put me in the hotel. Look, got me a rental car. They did it all. It was the whole nine. And I went to the interview. They do panel interviews. And in the panel interview, it was 4 individuals. It was 3 people that worked for the manager, and the manager was in there as well. So each one are firing questions off at you, and I'm cool. Like, I'm answering the questions, everything's going good. But the boss was a black woman, and I was like, okay, cool, But then while I'm answering the questions, I'm looking at body cues from her, and I'm like, okay, like she feeling me, but then it was like a little bit of cockiness with it as well. Yeah. Like, you could kind of tell off the energy that she was giving. And I was like, oh no, she not feeling me, like, to be on her team. So I was like, it's cool. I finished up the interview and I didn't get that position. But it turned out to be better for me because I ended up getting another interview out here, like maybe a month later.
Yeah. And
I got that position, which paid more money. So I feel like, what I'm saying, it was just God being like, hey, that wasn't for you, but this is.
I'll give you another chance. Step the game up.
Yeah.
Those panel interviews are tricky.
They are very intimidating.
Yeah, they're like I said I had the opportunity to sit on the panel interview, and I was a person on the panel, but I felt uncomfortable because I was interviewing my peers that were contractors that was interviewing to be full-time employees. And one guy, he had worked in that for the company longer than I've been there. So he helped train me. And when he came in on the panel to interview for the job, when I tell y'all, this is a perfect example of self-sabotage. They were asking him, we were asking him questions. I knew his answer. I knew the work that he had done. I knew he had answers. But because I felt like his panel was his peers, he, out of probably the 20 questions that we asked, he probably answered 5. And the rest of the 15, he had no. When I say no answer, he legit looked us in the eye and said, I have nothing. What? He said, my mind has gone blank. And it wasn't because he didn't have an answer. It was because of what was in front of him.
They're intimidating.
But, honestly, the second interview that I had, it was a panel interview as well. But it was like the energy in the room was so much different. Yeah. And I felt like I was talking to, my friends.
Yeah.
And they literally called me like 2 days later. Oh, you got the job. This is when you start. This is how much we're offering you. So, I mean, it's an energy thing too when you're doing panel interviews. Because if you're going out stiff and then they're all stiff, it would throw the whole vibe off.
Yeah, it will. It will.
I think it's weird for me, like, for things that I will, like, sabotage for myself. Because, like, y'all are speaking on interviews. Anytime I didn't do well in an interview, it's because I know. I know I went in there and I was, like, just half-assing it or something. But most of the time, I kill interviews. It's just, you're just selling yourself. But it's amazing to me how I can go in there and have so much confidence. Like, since I've moved to Texas, I go in and I'm like, all it's about is just selling yourself. I done got jobs I knew nothing about. And I'm just in there and they love it. But then I think about, like, when I went to try out for The Voice. I felt like I self-sabotaged that audition because leading up to it, I over practiced. I kept switching my songs because I would sing, I would practice, and then I'd be like, no, I don't like that song because what if I have to hit this note, or what if I have to do this? And you only have 20 seconds to sell yourself. And then I ended up just the night before going with the most simple song, which is not a good audition song, Killing Me Softly. Unless you're going to do a different arrangement, you know, and I went in there and sung that, and I knew, like, they're not going to pick you because everybody does this song. You know, that song is wore out, and I didn't get it. Whereas I felt like I had found a good arrangement of another song, but I literally talked myself out of performing that song because I was too uncomfortable about certain notes. Like, I just overthought it. And that's something I really love doing as opposed to these jobs that I've interviewed for. You know what I'm saying? So everybody know I love singing, but you know, so I'm just like, but I guess that leads me into like, what do you think are triggers? Like, have y'all ever like sat down and thought about like times where you self-sabotage? What's something that triggered that? Like, what triggers us?
I just think that it's overall the sense of failure, you know, in something or something like that. Like the sense of, what if I don't do well? You know, and everything that I can think of that I've self-sabotaged, it's been something, you know, I don't want a bad result, you know, so I just won't do it. Or, you know, half-assed it and just know, well, I know I half-assed it, so of course I didn't, you know, so you can have that fallback on.
Or it could be a familiar feeling. Like, you can be in a situation, and I'm like, oh, this shit seemed all too familiar. So let me try to get in front of it. So that's when you overthink shit. And then when you overthink shit, it'll fuck up the whole thing.
Yeah.
And you be like, you know what? That's not, and they'll be like, that's not even where I was going with it. And I was like, so I done did that in relationships.
Right.
Because if I feel like it's familiar to me, I'm like, woo, hold on. Something ain't right.
That same shit.
Right. This that same shit. And I be like, something ain't right. So, but you got to realize that you're dealing with a whole new person. And when you're dealing with a whole new person, you know, that's where communication comes in. You really have to talk it out.
I think another trigger could be friends and family. You know, you go into friends and family. I've had people that came to me and has spoken negative about me wanting to go back to school. You know, people saying, well, why you want to do that? Like, I didn't benefit from it. You know what I'm saying? And that in itself could be a trigger, but like, well, why am I doing this? You know what I'm saying? I may not benefit, instead of looking at, you know what, I may benefit from this. But friends and family can talk you out of relationships. They can talk you out of jobs. They can talk you out of all types of opportunities. And so you have to be really careful about who you talk to, because everybody don't see your vision.
And everybody ain't in your corner. Like everybody that you think is like, oh man, I hope you do this, I hope you do. They could really not be in your corner. They could really be praying against you.
Right.
Yeah.
That's very true.
You have to be strong mentally.
So a lot of what we've been talking about, so before we did the episode today, I looked up some different things. So it was this article that I read by a psychologist named Sherry Carter, and she spoke on the 7 deadly sins of self-sabotaging. A lot of them we have already just spoken on. So we can go more into it, but I'll name them off. So one is focusing on the negative and ignoring the positive. Allowing fear to guide your thoughts, plans, and or actions. Focusing on the past. Feeling deep down inside that you don't measure up. Self-saboteurs tend to settle. And we also, I'm saying we, like, self-sabotaging, but they tend to drive people away on purpose. And they're masters at procrastination.
I think that we just named all that.
We pretty much have named all of that. We didn't speak on like settling, but I think I can say for myself, just settling for mediocre.
Yeah.
And
especially in the workforce.
That's exactly where I was going with. I was like, that's something that I feel like I'm even dealing with now, because like wanting to start my own business or my own career, but feeling like, what if I fail? What if I can't do this? Or, thinking of everything that can go wrong as opposed to everything that could go right.
Yeah.
And so then I don't want to fall into that whole realm of settling for going back to the workforce when I know I could. I know I could do better. Focusing on the past.
Woo. Yeah.
That's a big one when it comes to relationships.
Yes.
Yeah.
People focus on the past, like you mentioned, Nikki, about, hey, I experienced this in this past relationship, and I see a sign of this person doing this. They gonna do the same exact thing, which it's a totally different person. You don't know what that person's intentions are.
Exactly.
It's focus on the
and then also,
that's when you gotta stop and be like, hold up, I'm getting this familiar feeling, and I know you are totally new, but we need to talk about this.
Right. This is a trigger for me.
And that's good that y'all say talk about it, because I was also, reading more on it. They were just saying the inability to talk about your feelings and problems. You can self-sabotage by simply avoiding to talk about your feelings or disregarding problems like within a relationship. And I think we do that not only in our intimate relationships, but with our family, friends and family. Because a lot of times people that you consider friends do things, and instead of addressing it, you just
like, that's just her, or I don't want to go back and forth with her and this and that, because you already kind of have a feel for what in the past, what their reaction has been, and so you just like, no, I'm just not even gonna bring it up. But as I get older, I can't hold it in. I don't know what it is. Like, I have to just say it. Like,
that old lady syndrome kicking in. Old folks say that, just say what they want to say.
Right, when you get old people don't give a fuck.
I mean, like, so did you mean to do this or what? Because I'm feeling something.
And I'll say, even with family, sometimes, because it is family. And, family is going to be your family forever. So sometimes you just feel like,
especially with
with your elders, you just be like,
this is
I ain't even gonna say nothing because I don't want to be disrespectful, or I don't know what they're gonna say.
Or you just know
at a young age I was cool because you couldn't, but now that I'm grown, look here, lady. Look, we gotta talk, because now you playing. Like, look, come on, man, look.
Girl, I wish I would say look here, lady, to Madea. Madea, my grandma is 80 years old, baby, and she will cane herself out there.
First of all, I won't say look here, lady, to your grandma, okay?
I won't say that.
Let's be clear.
I'm good on that. But it's true, but it's also, that can instill, like, if any of us have children, anybody out there with young children, you can self-sabotage. You can instill that in your kids to the point where you shut down their ability to communicate with you. And they're going to feel like, you know what, that's just mama or dad. I just need to deal with it.
But you carry that on to, like, your relationships. Because I have a problem that I'm working on. But I had a problem with, like, expressing myself, like the emotions and just the vulnerable feeling. Like, let's say all this death, like, that I was dealing with for the past basically year.
Yeah.
And none of it had to do with COVID, but it was just like every other month, every 2 months, somebody was passing that was close to me, a close family member or a friend. But, I'm just like, all right, I'm straight. I just need to make sure my mama good. I just need to make sure my daddy good. Like, I'm good. But at the same time, it just really takes a toll on you. And my friends are the ones that's like, nigga, we know you. Like, are you cool? I'm like, I'm good, because I don't talk about it. I just move forward. But that's a problem that I had growing up. Like, my daddy way of talking to me as a child, or like even now sometimes, it's like, you good? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. All right, well, you want to get a drink? And
that's like the whole
and that's really what it is. That's a conversation. And you know, like, and my mom, she'll step in sometimes and be like, "Hey, are you fine?" But now that I'm older, it's harder to talk because I'm so used to them, you know, just being like, basically, what goes on in this house, stay in this house. Mm-hmm. Like, so there really is no talking. So it's like now, you know, in your relationship, you just be like, okay, like if I express it to you, are you gonna come at me crazy?
Yeah.
Because I'm used to being like the more dominant one and just being like, oh, cool, I can take on the world. Mm-hmm. I can take on my shit and yours.
Internalizing.
Right. So.
But you made a good point, which is another example of triggers is your upbringing. Things that you experienced growing up. Also, like in my reading, I not only looked at ways that we self-sabotage, but what are some ways to point out those triggers. So it's like paying attention to like everything that we've spoken on, mm-hmm. like paying attention to what caused it. Like if I know I get to feeling a certain kind of way or a certain emotion comes up, I sometimes need to take a step back and just say, okay, what was I thinking about? Where did this come from? Like in your case, like you were saying, like with your upbringing, how your conversations with your father, how y'all discuss things. So it's like y'all talked about stuff without talking about it. Like you saying, he's like, you good? You like, yeah. Bam, move on. So think about how many times you've done that in a relationship. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and still be pissed off.
Exactly.
Like, I really want to jump across this table, but you know,
you know what I'm saying? So it's like that's something like we can't just sit here and have a discussion about our self-sabotaging ways without trying to come up with solutions.
Mm-hmm. But and part of that is, you know, really just being more mature, because at the same time, I realize I cannot blame that on my family. I'm a fucking adult.
At this
I
point,
need to take responsibility for myself. Just because my family did this doesn't mean I have to do the same thing. Right. It's time for you to break that shit. So that's when you have to hold people accountable.
And you got to hold yourself accountable. Sometimes we got, like I said, you have to sit down and do the work. Yeah. Like do the work within yourself. Like point out to yourself when you are doing things. Acknowledge when you are wrong, which is something that us as adults, we just... you know what I'm saying?
This is a perfect example right there. That nigga over there talking about something. When is that?
You know, but that's stuff we have to do, you know. And having difficult conversations that we don't want to have.
You have to want to be a better person. Because a lot of us, we saw, like you said, Nikki, we experienced the lack of communication, of being able to communicate as children. We know we have those toxic traits internally, but you have to also say, okay, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be my parents. I don't want to, carry on this tradition to my kids and they do it to their kids. Like, I want to be a different person. I want to have a different relationship with my partner. And it's a everyday thing. Mm-hmm. Like, you legitimately every day have to wake up in the morning and be self-aware of how you wake up, how you treat your partner, how you treat your friends, how you treat your family, and want to be different. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's hard.
Pay attention
but see, the thing is, it's not gonna happen overnight, and that's another thing. We expect that shit to happen the next day.
Like I told you,
and it takes time. It takes time.
Yeah.
It does. So it's a combination of everything, and on top of all of that, paying attention to your circle. Yes. The people that you allow in your life. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes you can have somebody in your life for years and years, but at some point y'all have grown apart, and you have to acknowledge that person is they no longer are beneficial to the road that you're going, the path that you're going on now. Mm-hmm. You know, if people aren't growing with you,
you gotta leave them.
You gotta leave them because that'll
drag you down.
Yeah,
that's hard. It's really, because I remember having childhood friends that I call my best friends. You know, up through high school. You know, even after I graduated, I went to USM, And I catch myself going back home and hanging with these people and just looking at them like, what are you doing with your life? You know
like
what I'm
I
saying?
don't relate to you anymore.
Yeah, like, or even when I went to music, coming back home and visiting, seeing those same people hanging on them same blocks, cutting them same corners, hanging at the same car wash. You know what I'm saying? So it was very, very hard for me to let go of them. Not saying I cut them off completely, but I'm more so...
You're just aware.
Yeah, I became aware, like, we're not on the same page. They still are important to me, but...
Right.
We're not there anymore.
Right. And it's not to say like you feel like you're better than anyone.
No, yeah.
It's just we don't connect on the same level that we once did. Mm-hmm. We enjoy different activities. You know what I'm saying? Things that excite you may no longer excite me. Mm-hmm. Which in the past it may have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But now we have taken two separate paths. But like you said, it's not that you no longer, like I have childhood friends. We don't talk every day. We don't hang or see each other. However, I still love them no less. You know what I'm saying? And there are times where I can hang around them, but our worlds just don't mesh anymore. You know? And you have to also be okay with growing apart. Because I think sometimes you hold on to people because we get to feel in that sense of loyalty.
And memories.
Yeah. And then a huge thing that I think we all do in life, we always saying, it's been so many years, I've known them for so long.
But it's like Insecure. Like this season of Insecure with Molly and Issa.
Oh, yeah.
Like they were just moving in two different directions. It's not that they weren't like still good friends. It's just that their lives was going in two separate ways. But they were still trying to force the old way.
And the thing is, it wasn't even that they were going in different directions.
You have to like conform to like where you at then. Like
it's a difference because I think for them, with like Issa, she was starting to evolve.
Yeah, and I don't think that she was ready for this.
Her best friend wasn't ready because she was used to Issa always being always needing her always being, you know,
superior,
the go-to person, and you know, always having Issa to turn to, whereas Issa was doing big things. She popping at the moment, and instead of celebrating her friend, she couldn't handle it, and I think that's where their issue came in.
You know what's crazy that I've experienced being Issa, right? Mm-hmm. Like having accolades in my life, but then looking back and expecting certain people in my life to celebrate with me. Mm-hmm. And because I didn't have those people that saw those accolades celebrate with me, that was disappointing.
Oh, yeah.
That was disappointing.
I can see that being disappointing. So, yeah, that your circle of friends, or like I like to call it, your tribe, they have to be on one accord, and it's gonna change. It can change.
It changes.
I think by this age, it's kind of the ones that are gonna go with you moving forward. But I do think that it changes, and you have to acknowledge it.
I feel like it changes. Like I have friends that I've been like best friends with since I was 11 years old. Like we do not talk every day. They like married with kids, and you know they're like, oh, you're at home this weekend. Like when it's the holidays, you're at home. Oh, we all hang out. We have a good time, and then we might not talk for another 2 months.
Right.
But at the same time, we're great. We're still great friends. I love them the same. But then I have, you know, the people that I hang around like on a daily basis. And, you know, it's just a different relationship. And you just have to understand where you're at in life. You know, some people, you know, that you meet now, they could just be friends/associates. But you always have that core group of friends that you can always go back to with any problem. Right. So the main thing really is just recognizing where you are at in life and where you are with each one of your friends.
Yeah. Very important.
Nah, that's real.
Don't expect too much from some of them.
That's like that article I sent you, Roxy. The ugly truth about adult friendships.
Yes.
And let me tell you all, this article I saw it on another friend's page, and I read it, and then I posted it and even sent it. And she just pretty much breaks down, you know, sometimes you gotta label your friends, like categorize them, put them in, understand which category your friend. They can still have that title as friend, but you gotta understand which category they fall in.
Right.
And it's like once you grasp that idea, it makes your friendships a lot better because your expectations are different for every single person. Like, you can't travel with everybody.
And you can't tell everybody your business. Like, all your friends your business. And especially if it's like a vulnerable moment, I only have certain friends that I can talk to about that. Right. But the other ones, like, yeah, I could talk to them about it, but that shit'll go right over their head. Like, because, I mean, it's just the emotional intelligence of, like, nigga, I'm talking to you about some real shit, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's just like, Ashley, you posted something one time, like, what was it? Like, if they crying, like, you aren't the friend or something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's like, what about, okay, so you had this friend come to you and they crying hysterical. It's like, what? Am I supposed to pet it? Or what do I supposed to do with it? Like, I'm supposed to hug you, right? I'm not a hugger. I'm not, like, intimate or, like, what's the word with my friends? Like, hey, I seen you in a minute, you know?
Yeah.
Let's dap it up. I want you to hug me. You know, I'm that type of person. So.
Nah, Ashley gonna talk it out with you. Or acts of service, I would say, for you. Yeah. That is Ashley on the level of friendship. I know you like shrimp. I'm gonna go ahead and cook you some shrimp.
You sad right now? Oh, let me go cook your favorite meal.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's the type of friend that I am. To sit with you and cry with you. I may not be there. I'll listen. But see, I ain't gonna know what to do with you.
I had to learn that because most of my friends are like, well, literally all of my friends are feminine. Whether it's straight or gay. All of them are feminine. And that's not me. But, you know, I do sympathize with them or empathize with them when they're going through things. So I had to learn that because it's not something that I was used to.
Yeah. You know, I like having friends that, I think aside from you, Roxy, most of my friends are all more tomboyish, studdish, or whatever. Which is good for me because a lot of times they can just give it to me straight. Like, I have one friend, I tell her all the time, you're a complete asshole, but I love you to death.
I know what you're talking about.
But I tell you one thing, I don't care what time I call her, she gonna be there. If she need to come pick me up or come by,
Is this one that I know?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Because I was thinking it was that person, but I was like, okay, yeah.
And I can talk to her about literally anything, and she doesn't take sides. She just gives you. She'll say, well, Nick, you know that's bullshit, or you just in your feelings. That's all it is. You in your feelings, you know. So, but you gotta, like I said, you just gotta know your friends. But overall, with this self-sabotaging, so I know we've talked about it. So, what are some things that you all are actively doing now to work on? Like Roxy, you said procrastination. Are you procrastinating on working on what you need to do?
Right now, today, I'm procrastinating because I should be really focused on entering back into the workforce. And next week is to get it together.
We're gonna follow up on the next episode. See how she doing.
I'm gonna have a whole business in the next episode. So don't even play me like that. I'm definitely gonna have it together. But I think like Ashley was saying, it's a daily conscious decision to actually, you know, progress in those areas. What I am doing right now is trying to renew some of my licenses and things like that. Trying to decide what direction, Lord. Because I done got all these licenses. And I ain't using none of them.
You acting real weird, like.
Exactly. And the thing for her, Roxy is like, she has a lot of things that she can do.
A lot.
And so she tries them all. And you be like, so which one you gonna do permanently? And she was like,
I don't know about permanently. I don't know about that.
But that is a hard thing.
It's hard. It's very hard.
Even like I look at myself, like some days it's like, okay, I really want to pursue being an esthetician.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's like, okay, I really want to get into continue with acting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm like, I want to do all of these things, but you have to, that takes time. You got to put effort into your craft. You got to build and work on your skill.
So you really have to choose one thing
at
a time.
And then I get to think, okay, I'm like, well, if I want to go into acting, okay, let me get back into my acting class and stuff like this. But right now, that ain't bringing in no money. So then I get to looking, okay, doing this, doing that. So, but what am I doing now? I would just say, like, I'm starting off, like, with my health and health and fitness. So I'm doing Sober October.
So proud of you.
We'll get y'all update on that on the next episode.
No, I'm serious.
We have a lot of updates for y'all. Cause these over here.
But I'm serious. But I mean, it's like when it comes to like my health, I realize that I am getting older and think my body is changing. So it's not like I can keep ignoring stuff. So I'm like, it's some things that I need to focus on. I'm not saying it's gonna be easy.
Oh no.
You know, but it's steps that I have to take if I want to do better for myself.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, Ashley and Nikki, what are some things that you all are working on, you know, with yourselves right now?
with me, I think I'm working on like overthinking things.
Mm-hmm.
Not, letting that familiar feeling, dictate the direction I'm going in.
That's huge.
Yeah, I think that's another one for me too. The overthinking, trying to get that under control, because I will not do a lot because of how much I overthink. And so just trying to replace that with a lot more positive thinking.
Yeah.
So that I can move forward and do some of this long list of shit that I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Prioritizing, and writing it down, setting short-term goals.
Yeah, short-term.
I think that may help. Like just saying, like what you saying, like overthinking. Just set a short-term goal, whether it be for that day, for the week, or that month. Take it one step at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ashley, what about you?
For me is instilling my self-confidence, right? So, so if we talk about career-wise, right? So it's like you said, like you spoke on previously, Nikki. I'm gonna put in for this interview. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna go in with confidence that I'm gonna get this because I know I'm a hard worker. You know what I'm saying? I try my best to do a great job. So stop psyching my own self out of opportunities. I think that's what I'm currently trying to focus on. And not being complacent and being comfortable. I think that's
that's a good one.
That's
a heck of one of the key things to not progressing on is I'm comfortable with this job. I'm comfortable with the company. But in reality is I'm just a number. They can replace me tomorrow. So
preach.
Just stepping out, letting go of them or whoever, and stepping out like, you know what, I can be okay with this change.
Okay.
And so that's one thing I'm really trying to build in myself or whatever. And also man, y'all could probably speak on this or give some advice, but friends. I'm real with friendships and self-sabotaging. It's like I'm either or, right? And I don't know how to handle these people, these humans. It's like either you get on my nerves and I don't want to do with you no more, especially if you're one of my homies, or if it's like I'm going to just put up with your nonsense. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm 0 or I'm 10. So
You
it's
gotta find a balance.
I know it's really hard to find a balance with friends. For me,
I feel like with me and my friends, even being here, it's like I have friends that I want to turn up with. Mm-hmm. I want to go out. I want to party. I want to do all this stuff with. And then I have other friends. I'm like, yeah, I just want to kick it with them. and chill. So you got to know your audience.
I'm also say to my advice on that. I don't want to get too much in detail, but you know me and Roxy, best friends. You have to put in the work. First of all, you have to determine what a friendship means to you, what a person means to you. Also, for me, praying on something. There are plenty of situations, with us that I have prayed on, and I'm sure it's times where we felt like it was no coming back, However, I will say that in the end, it's just something I couldn't turn away from. Like the feeling never leaves. Like it never leaves my mind. Where there are friendships that have ended, and I'm okay.
You just don't give a fuck.
Like, I mean, I'm grateful that, I got a chance. They were in my life for a season. And that's another thing. Understand people that are in your life for a season and people that are in your life for the rest of your life. And that's what a lot of things for me. And then, like I say, once I pray on it, sometimes I can be like, God, just whatever you say, and then bam, he'll put something in motion for it, it to happen or come back together. So sometimes you really got to sit down and think about the people. If you have to write it down, like the pros and cons, or imagine your life without that person.
Yeah.
I mean, zero. I mean, no, you're laughing, you're saying that, Ashley, but when I say, like, you have to really think about it, and I'm not saying that's going to take, thinking about something like that ain't going to take you, couple of minutes. Yeah. Like, you think about what that person, has meant, and then sometimes having the uncomfortable conversations that you just don't want to have.
That's hard, especially when you know people. And I know how this person is going to react.
But see, that's why you got to give them the opportunity.
You have to give them that opportunity.
See, so y'all right? Y'all 100% right. This how Ashley brains work. Y'all like, yo, Ashley, you got to give this person the opportunity. And I'm like, why give them the opportunity for failure? I know what they're going to say. I know they're going to fail. That's what we talking about.
That's what we talked about. You're going into the situation already saying what's going to happen. So that has totally you went into the conversation with defeat.
Have you listened to anything? We're trying to be.
But this is the thing. The reason you shouldn't go into it with that is because you don't know that person isn't over there thinking the same thing. So the fact that you may come to them, they may be at the same point you're at, like, I'm ready to make some kind of resolution. Now, I'm not telling you that when you have this conversation, you're not going to be ready to get the fuck up and walk away. But you're going to have to stick it out and y'all are going to have to, and you're going to have to go in and listen. Don't listen for your chance, waiting for your chance to speak. Actually listen and hear the person out. And because you know them, put yourself in their shoes for a minute. For just 1 minute. Just think about, no, this is serious. I know you laughing, but think about how they could be viewing what you've done, your actions.
That's
how you came off.
I mean,
so when I get my new friends.
No.
And see, you're not really
she not listening.
She already moved on, man. Like,
she is self-sabotage.
Doing the most.
She has to go start over.
Right.
Sometimes you do just need to start over, though. I ain't gonna lie. But I'm gonna tell you, adult friendships are the hardest thing. I think they're harder than relationships.
They are.
Because I have been listening to podcasts. I have been Googling shit like, why in the hell is it this hard? Why do we continue to bump heads? Like, Lord. Do you want to out? Do you want to out? In or out? You just tell me in or out. I'll do what you want.
But part of that is, though, you know what I'm saying? We also have to take responsibility for ourselves at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's not always on them.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. But in regards to even trying to come to the table and actually talk about it and stuff like that, all of that is so much work. It's so much work because, like she's saying, like Ashley's saying, like, you don't want to bring it to them because you feel like you already know what the hell they're gonna say. And that's just gonna piss me off again.
Now what step do we take? What do we do?
But you gotta go. You gotta go into it.
See, y'all be going into it ready to argue. You gotta go in and listen.
It's not ready to argue.
That's not true.
You know what? I ain't got time for this.
But that's the thing. You gotta make the time.
You gotta make the time.
It's part of putting in the work. Because this is what and this is also something that I've told myself about friendships. This is something that I said. If I sat here and put up with this person when I'm in a relationship, I accept a lot of shit and I work through it with them. I put up with it. Why would I not do the same for a friend that's been there with me through several of my relationships? Why would I not put that same work in for somebody that's been there through 2 and 3 exes? These people are the ones that's coming and going. I say that shit
all the time when it comes to relationships and friendships. Look, I love my relationships when I'm in them. But at the same time, my friends going to always be there. They're going to be there when you weren't there, when your ass leave. My friends are always going to be there. So you do have to cultivate those friendships.
Yeah, and I feel like when you look at it like that, because when we're in relationships, we give so much and we're like, oh, you got to fight for the person that you love and you want to be with. So if you love your friend,
well, I think that's a part of it, though, because you're fighting in this relationship and you want this one to be smooth as fuck. I don't want to fight every fucking where. I need somewhere where it's some damn peace. Please do not fight with me. And I think a lot of times we, don't really realize that is what's going on. And so you really just have to think about that, too. Like, well, yeah, I am fighting here. So I'm already mentally kind of drained. And so you just have to reconstruct where you're giving your mental capacity to.
And it's also okay to tell, even in a relationship or a friendship, to tell people, look, I need a moment to regroup. I need a moment to myself. It's not to say that I don't love you any less, that I don't love you anymore, or I don't care about the situation. I just need to regroup. Because right now, I'm only seeing red.
Yeah.
So I can't give you this conversation right now. I don't have the mental capacity to deal with you or talk to you right now. But it's not to say I don't want to. And we have to, as adults, we got to be okay saying it. And we got to be okay hearing it and receiving it. If somebody tell you that, don't feel like, they're blowing you off. So it's like you said, taking accountability for yourself. And just noticing, but at the end of the day, it's just about putting in the work.
Yeah, that's true. Because I know we have to take about 3 days. Baby. I be ready to toss her ass over the balcony. Lord, don't send me over there just yet. I'm not ready.
Baby, it's just like sometimes you're looking at that phone like, not today. I'm not doing this with you today. I'm just not.
That's true, but then I'll pop up.
Right. But I can't imagine life without this crazy person right here.
I tried to imagine it. It didn't work. So I guess not.
But so that's a good conversation we had today.
Yeah.
I like that you all spoke up. I think this is the most vulnerable we've been.
Yeah.
Like speaking personally on things
it's serious topics.
Yeah, I'm ready for. I damn sure need another drink. Goddamn, kill my buzz.
Right.
First of all,
you
no.
Up there
No. First, I can't nothing to kill their buzz. Ain't nothing gonna stop these two from drinking. So
that's true. But I didn't even get my. I'm more of the stronger type. Like this is a little too.
Well, clearly we all like some drinks and strong. The name of the podcast is Let's Have Cocktails. So
I need another.
But in closing, as always, we would love for you all to take part in the conversation once we post it. Give us your feedback, leave comments. I know a lot of people that reach out to us personally, which we love. However, don't be shy to leave a comment, leave a review. Definitely don't forget to follow us. Subscribe to our YouTube page. Follow us on Spotify, on Instagram. You can email us at LEZHAVECOCKTAILS@gmail.com.
Apple Podcasts.
YouTube. So YouTube. Always just feel free to interact with us. We love that, and we do respond. And with that being said, if no one else has anything else to say, I'm going to get another drink, and I'll drink to that, and we'll holler at y'all on the next go round.